Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time you are joining us. This is Book Talk.
Yes.
This is The Great Man Where Art Thou, The Silent Cry of a Woman's Heart book. I'm here with the author, Pastor Dee, DaVetta Dee, Dunamis Dee. Many of our coaching clients, transformational coach, call her Mama Dee.
Yes.
Whatever we may call her, spiritual leader, just advocate for change. You wrote a book.
I did.
You wrote this powerful book. And I pray that each and every one of you get it. If you are a woman who has legs, breasts, hips, thighs, and eyes, you need to get this book. And that's the truth. That is the truth. This book has transformed my life and relationships. I'm so serious. Why did you write this book? Where were you? This is how powerful it is. You can't start with, okay, chapter 2, chapter 1. No. With this type of book.
Some things ain't even an introduction or the preface.
It ain't an introduction and a preface. This is a powerful book. I need to know where you were. We need to know where you were when you wrote this book. What motivated you?
I was in a lot of emotional pain.
Okay.
Never thought that I would be in that place.
Okay.
Of pain. That's the key word, in that place of pain. Because a lot of us are in emotional pain, but when you end up in a certain place, experiencing emotional pain, such as going through the process of healing and being restored from betrayal and infidelity from probably the one and only man whom I truly loved.
Okay.
You know, been with many, married a few. But then you encounter that one.
Yeah.
That one. Many people encounter it in him in the beginning of life. Okay. Maybe high school, that high school sweetheart.
Yes,
you know?
Yes.
Or that first little young. But for me, it was almost near 40.
Okay. Wow.
And wasn't looking, wasn't aspiring. Gave up on relationships. And I never thought that I would end up in that place of pain. That I learned good just ain't good enough.
Okay.
And so that, you know, we look at good, I got a good man. But it's not even about whether he's good or not. It's about, as much as I loved him because I saw the greatness in him.
Right.
Many women see potential, but I didn't see potential. I saw his greatness. When he spoke, I heard his greatness. Because I ain't one. Two things I don't ask God for: money and man.
Okay.
Because they all come to me.
Right. Let's
both just
be clear about it. Let's be clear about it.
They come to me.
Right.
You know what I'm
You
saying?
ain't gotta ask. Come on.
You ain't gotta ask. So I'm not intrigued, and I'm not one to be all, you know, and did not really want one when I met him.
Okay.
But the reality of it is that it's something in him that drew me, and it was his greatness. So in this place that I was in, I was kind of befuddled how all this greatness, but I saw all this good.
In the same man?
In the same man.
In the same man. Okay.
In the same man.
Speak about it. Come on.
You know what I mean? And the greatness is in his mind.
Okay.
But the good was based upon all his actions and his pain and his behaviors that stem from the pain.
Before he met you.
Before he met me.
Okay.
Before he met me. And so we have to proclaim, and so it that good just ain't good enough, but what it did inadvertently, it made me reflect within myself. Because oftentimes we are looking at them and we lose sight of what's within us. And it goes both hand in hand. So his grief and his pain was from his mama, and my grief and my pain was from my daddy.
Okay.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
But at the end of the day, you can't have greatness without being together. I'm great, he's great. And you can't have the ness, Ness, without two or more.
Come on now. And
so the enemy always try to hold you back where there's maybe a great woman and she just get a good man.
Yes.
Good and great.
It's like oil and water.
It's like oil and water.
Yeah.
So I had to see the greatness in me. Because we could also see the greatness in them and lose sight of ourselves. So the book stems from a whole lot of stuff.
Okay.
You know, if I wrote about it, I probably would have had an encyclopedia.
Okay.
And I know we don't read those no more.
Right.
But it came from a whole lot of places and crying out to God and in prayer.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Not just for me, but for him, for us, knowing that God drew me to him,
Mm-hmm.
knowing that I was drawn to him, and knowing that I saw the order of how he lived from a kingdom man until the shift came, and the grief took him to the good state.
Okay. There's that balance. There's that fight.
It's that fight.
It's that
yin and yang. But really, grief is designed to take us to greatness. And that's a whole nother book.
Okay.
Because our Lord and Savior said, well, Isaiah said that he was acquainted with our grief. We don't know what to do with grief. And if we don't know what to do with grief, we're going to stay good.
Okay.
Because all of us got some grief. So that's how the book was birthed.
Okay.
And it's a lot of revelation in there. Oh my God, it's a lot of revelation.
It is.
I wouldn't have ever known how to write within my own self. Because first of all, I'm not an English major.
Okay.
You know, and from a school's textbook standpoint, that wouldn't have been my subject of choice.
Okay.
So the book is truly God ordained.
We're glad that you're not an English major. We're glad that you're not textbook, because had you been textbook, this great book would not have been produced and would not have been able to change and transform lives like it has been doing for women, life and relationships. Great Man, Where Art Thou? The Silent Cry of a Woman's Heart.
Yes.
We are going to go to chapter 1. Chapter 1
there you go.
is one of my favorites. It begins with Daddy. It begins with Daddy is a movement within itself.
It is.
It is a movement within itself. It is a movement that you have really coined and started. You know, good is just not good enough. I am great. And so I want to start with chapter 1, which is page 25.
Okay.
And you come off the bat encouraging, and that's one thing I like about you and the way you write. You encourage us right off the bat that we are great.
Yeah, you are.
You don't make any qualms about it. You are great. But you always throw something in the game. She always got something to put in the game, y'all. Page 25 says, although we're great, you want to challenge our thinking. And you say, your greatness doesn't lie within your wonderful attributes and accomplishments, but it is in your pain, victimizations, deficits, and weaknesses.
Yeah.
Come on and speak about it, because that is a shifting of our paradigm.
It is, because many of us can't see ourselves as great because of those things. We don't see great because we see our pains. We're living our victimizations. We are trained according to the world's mentality to compare. If you got a big church or a big home or doing great things, you know, those are the great people.
Right.
I just go to work every day and I got a job.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And I'm just grateful for a good job. You know what I'm saying? But you're more than just a good job.
Right.
But sometimes the victimizations and the deficits and our own stuff keep us stuck on good. And then we start looking at other people as great, and I don't see myself as great. Well, I can name a whole lot of people who are doing things, but they got there because they were embracing their issues and their deficits.
Yes. We're going to talk about it more, but you talk about the pain and the promises. We're not going to give it all away because we want you to read the book. We want you to get the book. We want you to read the book, most importantly. But that's so apropos. It is. Because for me and anybody, especially women, especially if we've gone through some things, and we have some inadequacies.
Almost definitely.
You know, we can't even think of ourselves sometimes as good, let alone great,
because we're stuck in the pain. This is why even in the prayer book, I started off, it begins with Daddy.
Yes.
And I probably write another book and
it
start off with Daddy.
Every book,
because everything in life begins with that seed. And so that's, for me, you see, it's a principle to it. I let me just use. I want to use Oprah Winfrey for an example. She's renowned. Everybody knows her. But I see the principles She don't go around talking about, ooh, Jesus, Jesus. She has a love for God.
Mm-hmm.
But she takes the principles and she applies them. But she also have come into understand how to use her pain as her purpose. She ain't always been that way. She come from a little old country town. She talked about her abuse, but she didn't get stuck on that.
Yes.
She learned how to shift the pain and use it as the purpose to receive all the promises, and she's steadily receiving what God has for her. And I'm using her as an example because everyone knows her now as great. But at one point, she was just a good woman.
Yes.
Now, I'm just using her again because everybody knows her. But just because you don't know me, like you know Oprah, don't mean I'm not great.
Exactly. No, that's the truth. And that's what we have to start shifting.
And we got to start shifting.
Yes.
I just got to use the principles, allow my process. You see what I'm saying? Stay the course and still be in touch with my true self. And make decisions accordingly. You see what I'm saying?
Yes, definitely.
And so that's my personal life and relationship. She has hers, and every woman that I can name. God has no respect of persons. But everybody could try to be like Oprah, but that ain't where you're supposed to be. Step into your own greatness.
Say it one more time.
Step into your own greatness.
Yes.
Step into your own greatness. A great woman can be the woman who can sacrifice and say, you know what? I want to raise my children. I'm smart. I'm intelligent. I have degrees, but I choose to sacrifice to raise my children that they may experience emotional stability. I'm a great woman. You don't have to be in the limelight. You don't have to be on the television show. You don't have to be everybody trying to be a big wig. Why don't you take care of the greatness that's right before you and allow yourself to grow by making those decisions based upon your greatness?
I love it. And throughout the book, you know, you're esteeming all of us as great. But then you hit another nugget. When you talk about our greatness, and I'm going to quote this because I actually did not grow up with my father. So when I read this in the book, I kind of smirked. I'm like, yeah, whatever. Whatever.
Yeah.
But then I started becoming more through your coaching program, through just what you do with Mighty Christian Women, your Facebook group, and just through Dunamis Woman, I began to heal emotionally. When I first read the book, I had read it out of a lot of pain.
Yeah, you got it. Yeah.
And then I had to come back after some of my healing process, and I read it again, and now I can really see. But you said, and this is what made me put the book down, honey.
And many, and I'm gonna say this before you read it. Many women have.
Yes, they have. I did a book talk with you when you first did this book. And we were in Chicago. I'll never forget. And the woman, she said I couldn't get past chapter 1. She said I couldn't get past chapter 1.
She said I had to put it down because it was hitting the daddy issues. So emotional healing is necessary.
Yes,
but it also is a book that will bring healing.
Yes, it does.
As well.
Yes, it does.
You know what I'm saying? Okay, proceed.
You said, you were talking about how great we are. And you said, however, we fail to realize that our greatness is walking amongst us. And you said, nugget, in reality, greatness begins with our fathers. If it wasn't for the sperm, we wouldn't be here. And in spite of their deficits, their shortcomings, their absences in our lives, they contribute to our greatness.
Most definitely.
How can you say that? And you didn't have that type of relationship with your father. How did you even... Where did that revelation even come from? How could you even embrace this?
Because, first of all, healing.
Okay.
Let me go with the principles of life. First of all, no one is the author of their own life.
Okay.
And no one is the creator of life. It's a mystery and a principle. It's a principle in the mystery of how God can make man, and in that man, he puts life in his testicles. And he has the ability through his mind, feeling his pleasure, to ejaculate. And God chooses out of those millions and billions of sperm that he releases every time he ejaculates that he chose me. I can go into worship just because of that.
Yeah.
I don't need an organ. I don't need a church.
Mm-hmm.
I don't need a songstress. All I need is to sit back and reflect on that. But he chose me to come through the loins of David Andrews.
Okay.
Not Brian McKinney.
Mm-hmm.
Whoever that is, I don't even know who that is. You know what I'm saying?
Don't trip Brian.
Right. I know, I'm sure it's somebody out there like that, but I don't know. And that is just when you sit back and really think about that. Mm-hmm. You didn't just get here to get here, but you was chosen. Yeah. Not only was you, many people say, oh, well, you was chosen to be here. Yeah, you was, but you was chosen who you came from.
Yes, you were.
You was chosen from that blood, and it's something in that bloodline. Mm. It ain't good, it's great. And I love people because the greater the problem, the greater your greatness. And so I had to look at myself because I shifted my abandonment issues, and I had to shift my paradigm to say, if he had been with me to raise me, would I be the woman that I am today to produce greatness?
You skipping on in. You're skipping on in.
You really gotta think
you
about
wrote about that. And
yeah.
I wanted you to really talk about that dynamic that's on a different page. But you said, and I'm going to paraphrase, that not being with your father or women who've been abandoned or rejected or maybe not had the affection that a father gives. Even if you're in the same household, I know women whose father was there every day and they didn't have the affection. But you said God kept you from experiencing something. I need you
for
to
my greatness.
For your greatness.
For my
Elaborate
greatness.
on
for
that.
my greatness. Because he didn't abandon me. For a purpose, he was removed from my presence for God to get me in his presence.
Okay.
See, I know a few women who were raised by their father.
Yes.
Mother abandoned them. Mm-hmm. Yes. Young ladies, and they were raised by their father. And I'm going to tell you, they grit is shallow. Mm-hmm. And they don't understand how to get into the presence of the Father, Heavenly Father, because everything they need, and there's nothing wrong with this. This is how it's ordained, don't get me wrong, that they go to their earthly father. Now, at one point in time in life, their earthly father is going to be removed. Same principle. Mm-hmm. You see what I'm saying? Through going on home, wherever his home and destiny is eternally. But that is still going to be designed to shift her in the presence of her Heavenly Father. Yeah. Mine just came at 2 years old.
Right. Came earlier, right.
He was still walking this earth, but he was still removed. So God used that to show me my greatness through my abandonment. So from my dad, I got, now this is going to blow your mind, but I want you to really prepare yourself. Through the abandonment and absence, let me just use absence of my earthly father is where my great came from. Because of my mother and how she had to do what she did out of the abandonment of her husband, absence of her husband, she had to do some things which gave me grit.
Okay.
So you can't have grit without grit. Many people got grind, but they don't got great, and they don't have grit.
Define grit.
Grit is knowing how to bear down and knowing how to use your deficits and don't let anything get in the way, because I'm going to use everything that came my way based upon my abandonment, based upon where my issues were, because I came from my daddy, but through my mama.
Correct.
So whatever happened to them impacts me. You know what I'm saying? So I took all of these things and I now use it to bear down with grit and saying, I'm going to produce from this.
Okay.
So the grit comes from within. The grind comes from without. Because people grind every day and go to work.
Correct.
I see it on the expressway. They grinding in traffic.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? They grinding.
It's the external.
It's the external. But just because they grinding to get to work don't mean they're using their grit. Because as long as the paycheck is coming, grit don't need.
Yes.
You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
They still can grind, but that don't mean they use grit.
Mm-hmm.
Grit is an external factor that I got to bear down within.
Mm-hmm.
And no matter what come my way, I'm going to still keep moving towards my greatness.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to extricate my mind. Funds get low, I'm seeing my greatness. I ain't seeing a job. Job is good for me, but my vision is great for me.
Yes. Yes.
But I can't do that without grit.
And it all comes with being on purpose.
This book was birthed out of grit.
Okay. You took and explain it. I want people to really understand.
Because I could have given when he walked out the door and left.
Mm-hmm.
I could have whined.
Yes, yes, yes.
I could have been depressed. Remember, he's the one I loved, and I wasn't 20. I could have went in regret.
Mm-hmm.
I could have went in a lot of passivity. But what I did, I went within. Mm-hmm. And I began to produce.
Mm-hmm. That's that grit.
That's that grit.
Mm-hmm.
I tapped into myself.
Mm-hmm.
My fingers had to move. That wasn't grind. Because the grit was coming from within. I'm not going to let this betrayal stop me. I'm not going to let this thing that I'm feeling right now stop me. I'm going to shift it around for my greatness. Mm-hmm. Because I know I ain't the only one feeling this way. Mm-hmm. I know I ain't the only woman who going through some stuff. I know so I'm producing my book to go to the masses. That's why we're doing this. So you could tap into your grit.
Right.
You could take your pain. Mm-hmm. You could use it for your purpose. So when all the bills was coming and all the credit people and collections agencies and the lawsuits literally were coming, I didn't go to a good job because I had to stay with my grit.
Right. You touched on a few things, and I want to take us back. And in that was another thing that could have happened, and you just talking. So I love how Holy Spirit is just and God just does things. You said you had gone through your situation. Father wasn't there at an early age, but you went to men for affection, even after this man left you. You know, you had the issue with daddy not being there, so you went in the arms of other men, and that may be how you was led, or how you was led to this man. But you say in your book that not having that affection, not having that, it made you go and settle for good.
Almost definitely.
How does a woman just settle for good and not really attain greatness?
You know, a piece of chicken is better than no chicken.
True that if you're
when
hungry.
you're hungry.
When you're hungry.
When you're thirsty. When you're deprived. You see what I'm saying? My abandonment issues stem from childhood. So you always looking for love in all the wrong places. That's because we need that. Many women say, well, I don't need love. You're alive. It's a principle. You were made for that. And what you missing is what you gonna long for. And the first man in your life to esteem you and to love you and to wrap his arms around you without molesting you and without him getting into his good places. You know what I'm saying? Is that's what we require.
Yes.
And need. So you're gonna look for it other places. So when you haven't had that, just for somebody to come now at 23 years old or 18 years old or 35 years old and open a door for you, show you a little chivalry.
Yes,
you get a little chivalry.
Right. You get a little shake.
You get like, woo! He opened the door for me.
Right. It's the little things.
Well, it wouldn't have been so little if Daddy been doing it since day one.
It would have been a custom.
One of the men that I interviewed in this book, and I even dedicated it to him because I saw him as a great father. He treated his daughter from day one, opening up the door for her. You see what I'm saying? Protecting her. That's what a father's supposed to do. I was in love with him because he did that. Yeah. But this is what the daughter's supposed to experience from day one. I see her as a young lady waiting for him to open up the door. She knows no different. So when she get grown and go on her own, that's the standard for her.
That's the expectation, yeah.
Now, what can come in is a good man come in and don't leave what the great man did. You see what I'm saying? That's another story. But she should never settle for less than.
Exactly.
But she may be by herself for a minute.
For a long
time. So
right.
in order to get some love in other places, she will lower that standard. And just end up with a good man that just don't even think about opening up the door for her. But he's feeding her in other areas.
You all, this is powerful. This is Great Man, Where Art Thou? The Silent Cry of a Woman's Heart. This is a book by DaVetta D. Collins, transformational coach, author, publisher, just all around advocate for healing and life and relationships. And every part of this book, you're going to get some nuggets. Chapter 1, we're just on chapter 1, part 1, and it's chopped with things that's going to blow your mind. But this is one that I love. It says, I thank God for every man who lied, down with me, cursed me out, verbally and emotionally abused me. I thank God for every man who put his hands on me, rejected me, and determined just by looking at me that he didn't like me. How you gonna thank him? What made you thank those men?
Because it led me to great.
Talk about it.
Just think about it though. If I had stayed with the ones who lied to me and made me believe that it was truth, I would just be settling as a good woman. Rejection don't feel good. But in rejection is greatness. Because they're a good man. You are a great woman. Remember, good and great is like oil and water.
Yeah.
I was always great. I came out great. My daddy ejaculated a great sperm. Remember, all the other ones was good.
Correct.
I'm great. That's why God
That's
chose me. And I ain't knocking my brothers and sisters that went off in the wind.
Right. Never to be seen.
Never to be seen. You know what I'm saying? Went back to heaven. But he needed greatness in the earth. Greatness in the earth to deliver his people. Greatness in the earth to heal his people. Greatness in the earth to set the captives free. He knew I was going to love him. And I'm talking about my heavenly Father.
Our God, our Father.
He put his love in me. I didn't fall in love with him to be falling in love. He put it in me. I had to learn how to love him. But he put it in me. So the greatness, he preserved me. He said, I got to get you to lie to her. I got to get you to abuse her. I got to let you do this because all that stuff that you did, I'm going to take it and I'm going to use it for her greatness. You see what I'm saying?
Yes.
See, you great by yourself, but you need them Negroes to bring the greatness out of you. Because all this came from greatness. You see what I'm saying?
The lies.
The lies.
Everything.
If I take one that lied, one that cheated, one that abused me, one that, I got about 4 of them. That's greatness. That's their goodness, but it turned to my greatness.
And now that you have this greatness, you will find another person and a man and a mate.
That is a great man.
That is a great man who's been through a similar process.
And he has and now he's using it for greatness. You see what I'm saying? And so his purpose will line up with my purpose. But see, that don't come just because you went to the store and somebody said, hey, baby, you look nice. So good taught me how not to get caught up in flattery. They taught me how not to be just good. They taught me how not to settle for good. They don't know it. They didn't do it directly, but they had to do it. It was ordained for my life. Don't settle for good. Good just ain't good enough. For you, DaVetta, for you, Michelle, for you who's watching this. There's some good people out there, but there's a remnant of greatness.
Yes.
Great people. I am a great woman. And don't be ashamed to proclaim that about who you are. Look at all the hell you've been through. Look at all the ones who cheated. Look at all that. So I take all of that and use it for the greatness that God has for me.
We're going to end because we're going in a whole nother vein on part 2. But I really want you to speak to the woman because you proclaimed, I am a great woman. And you often say, part of Dunamis Woman, I am a Dunamis Woman. It's one and the same. But I want women to understand, what does a great woman even look like in this day and hour? When we're surrounded by so much noise and so much goodness, how does a great woman even stand out? What are we looking for in ourselves?
Well, the thing is, Michelle, she don't stand out. She don't.
Okay, speak about it. In closing, speak about it.
Dunamis is the power of God. It's the same power that raised Jesus from the dead. It's in you. It's in me. But if you look at his life, he was rejected. He was ridiculed. He was persecuted. He was alone many times. The only main people he hung around was the disciples.
Right.
But he also went out there to the multitude. But he stole away. You see what I'm saying? Friends and going everywhere just to be going wasn't his forte. Because he went through processes that really, really prepared him for his crucifixion, his death, his burial, but most of all, his resurrection. That's dunamis. That's what we go through. You don't stand out. You are rejected. You don't fit in with the clique. You never have. And guess what? You never will. Eagles soar alone. Chickens flock with many quacking. Greatness produce. But when she does have someone, it's someone who is faithful like she is. See, in a circle, that's why you see up there in great places of people doing something, they stick together.
They do. Ain't
no great man with wealth and riches is coming down on 35th and Peoria in Chicago to get a good woman.
Exactly.
It ain't about your life and your status. It's about what you're producing. They're producing their dreams. Now they got issues, don't get me wrong. But they still producing them records.
Correct.
They still writing them plays. They still producing, and they stick together because greatness is collaborative efforts. Yes. That's why you have to grow to be great. I'm great, but I got to grow in that greatness. And so when I proclaim I am is my power. I am is my proclamation. I am. I'm speaking that to the universe. I am. When greatness appears, here I am. Everywhere I go, I am. A dunamis woman, a great woman.
Right.
The power is in the code of the manifestation of who you are. Moses asked God, who shall I tell him sent me? He didn't say tell him God sent you. He didn't say tell him the Father of the Son sent you. He said tell him I am. Who I am, and in some versions it say that I am, same difference, sent you. I am. And that's the first time delivering the Israelites out of Egypt, the hand of Pharaoh, is when he manifested his greatness. But he sent a great man.
Yes.
Who grew up in Pharaoh's house, rejected, given away. Let your pain be your power. You wasn't going through all this just to be going through.
Wow. Well, thank you.
Thank you all.
We have talked a great deal in depth with Pastor Dee, Dunamis Dee, DaVetta Dee Collins, transformational coach, author, and publisher, about the book Great Man, Where Art Thou? The Silent Cry of a Woman's Heart. If you don't have it, get it. If you have it, open it up. Get past chapter 1. Don't be like a lot of other women who just put it down because of pain.
Yeah.
This book is going to heal the depths of your soul. So we're going to sound off on part 1. This has been a great talk. We have part 2 coming up. Still chapter 1. It begins with Daddy. We couldn't put it all in one. No. It would take too long.
Yeah.
So we will see you very soon for chapter 1. It begins with Daddy part 2.
And I want them to go to the website if you don't have it. www.dunamis, D-U-N as in Nancy, A-M as in Mary, I-S as in Sam, -woman, M-A-N.com. When you read chapter 1, I really want to admonish you. Persevere through the pain. Persevere. Press your way through, because it's going to get better and better and better.
Yes, it shall. All right. Thank you.
Yes.
And we will see you soon.
Yes.
Part 2.